My wife Sue, Suzanne, our two children and I live an ordinary family life in the capital of a Scandinavian county. One day, after coming home from work, I found Sue and her cousin Lisa Lowe, sitting in our living room. I immediately noticed that Liz had a strange red color in her eyes, as if she had been crying a lot. I didn't know what to say, so I just said, "Hi, Liz. What's up?" Sue answered me. "She has a very serious problem. Only a real man can help her, and you are the only one I know." I was confused and said, "She's married to a truck driver, and he's a real man. Or is he the problem?" Liz spoke for the first time. "Yes, and now he hasn't done anything wrong to me. But I'm sure he would divorce me if he found out what I did. I know what you did to those men who bullied Sue when you were in trouble. It saved your marriage. Please help me save mine." Sue and I were having serious problems in our marriage when she envied the freedom of her promiscuous divorced colleagues and even started acting like a slut herself. I couldn't stand it, and before we filed for divorce, I knocked down a noble baron at a Christmas party at her work and even severely beat up one of her male co-workers at a motel where he intended to screw her. However, after a few months apart while I was living with a new woman, Sue and I found that we missed each other very much and decided to try it again, and now we are happy to say that it works. Liz is much younger than Sue. She is only 24 years old. She's only been married to her truck driver for 2 years, and they don't have kids yet. I don't know her very well, but there are rumors of her promiscuous lifestyle before marriage. Her driver is gone at least 2 nights every week, so she still has a chance to get what she wants if she wants something outside of marriage. She's tall, slender, and quite a pretty babe. Now even Sue has rejoined the conversation. Please listen to what she's gotten herself into, and then I hope we can find a way to help her. Liz appearance. You know that I work in a bakery. One of our regulars who lives in the same building comes into the store every day and is always flirting with us girls, especially me. This Roland is about 40, good-looking, and has very pleasant manners, so we had no objections. He works as a bartender on the ferry every other week and stays at home the rest of the time. But now he has 4 vacation weeks and will be home for 2 months. One day he invited an elderly woman, my work colleague, and me to his apartment for lunch. He cooked a delicious meal and behaved like a real gentleman. So I had no reason to be suspicious when the following week on Monday night he invited me to dinner, knowing that my husband was away for the night. The evening started off very pleasantly. He made a nice big sandwich with lots of shrimp and crawfish. It was served with a delicious and well-chilled white wine. I promised myself that dinner was the only reason to visit him. I knew I had to be careful about drinking and not getting into any affairs with him, and I was sure I could handle it. But who cares about some whining over a delicious sandwich? We chatted sweetly during the meal, and I drank more than I should have. However, I was only in a good mood when he suggested we move to the couch and have coffee and cognac. There was quiet, romantic music playing on the stereo the whole time, and I had no reason to object when he asked me to dance a slow tune with him. He was a good dancer and held me tightly against him, but he kept his hands where they belonged. When I was back on the couch, he went to the bookshelf, from where he pulled out a package of very expensive lace-up stockings and said he had won them in a lottery. But he didn't have any use for them, and I could have them if they fit. He suggested I go into the bathroom and try them out. But I'm not shy, so I took off my jeans, opened the package, and put them on right there on the couch. They turned out to be just my size, so I agreed to wear them and give up my jeans for the rest of the evening. I was even a little flattered when he complimented my legs, calling them the prettiest I'd seen in years. After another dance, he left for the kitchen and returned with a bottle of Absolute vodka and orange juice, making 2 screwdrivers. To my surprise, he asked me if I went to the beach topless, and I replied that all the girls go topless there, even me. Of course, I asked why he was interested in that. He replied that he was at a party last Saturday night where the host talked the 3 ladies present into playing a simple game of win or get naked. One of them stripped naked and 2 of them won honestly earned money. If I dared to show my breasts to several hundred people on the beach, he saw no reason why I shouldn't dare to play a popular innocent game that cost me nothing. But I had a 75% chance of winning some money and much more with minimal luck. He explained how simple it was, and I agreed to give it a try. He laid out a deck of cards back-to-back on the sofa table, and I had to pick 4 cards, one at a time. If I got hearts or diamonds, I won about $30, and if I got spades or clubs, I had to strip naked except for my stockings. Things started out well for me, with the first card being a 9 in hearts, followed by a 5 in diamonds. But then it was his turn to get lucky, because my next cards were the knight and the 7 in clubs. Somehow I didn't care that I was sitting topless next to a strange man on his couch and sipping a screwdriver. I just felt aroused. I even accepted his offer to continue the game with 3 cards and double the amount if I won, which I did with the first 2 cards, but the third was a 10 in spades that cost me my panties. He then turned off the stereo and turned on a porn movie. It was soft porn about a boss who seduced his secretary. Being a little tipsy and sitting in just stockings next to this still very charming man, I was a little turned on, so I didn't resist when he started praising my legs again, and now even gently caressing them. Soon after that, we were in a dark bedroom where I noted that even he was now completely naked. If there had been a light on, I would never have done this, but in the dark, I was more daring. Subsequently, it ended in intense sex, several times a night. Of course, I was both hungover and remorseful when I woke up in his bed, naked, wearing only lace stockings. He was already up and came in with breakfast. After breakfast, he demanded morning sex, and when I refused, he did it anyway. When I was ready to go to work, he told me to be a good girl and come back Thursday night to look at the pictures from our night of love. What if something nasty happened if he sent them to someone? I didn't dare do anything else but go to his apartment Thursday night exactly as I was told, with the stockings he gave me under my jeans. When I arrived, he asked me to sit on the sofa and showed me 6 A4 computer-printed photographs. He must have hidden cameras in both the living room and bedroom. Noticing the hurt on my face, he said that if I accepted his terms, promised to be a good girl and do what he told me to do for a couple of weeks, these photos and the video they were copied from would be given to me. If I refused, he promised to send copies of the video to my husband and my parents. I had no choice, and had to tell him that I agreed to his demands if he promised not to hurt me. He said that it depended on my behavior, and from now on, while in his apartment, I had to call him boss and follow all his orders without question. He then sent me home and ordered me to return on Monday night. He knows that my husband leaves every Monday and Thursday night. When I arrived at his apartment Monday night, there was a fat man my age sitting in a cushioned chair in the living room. He was introduced as Johnson. No name was given. I feared the worst and tried to run away, but Roland caught me at the door and told me to obey or I would be sorry. The horrible thing was that Roland was videotaping everything, and the whole humiliation with Johnson was caught on tape. Please help me get out of this mess. If you can do that, I promise never to cheat on my husband again. She put the key on our desk and said, "Please help me." Our solution. As Liz finished her story, I noticed tears running from Sue's eyes. I think she remembered how she herself had found herself in almost the same situation in the hands of a Spanish pimp in Tenerife when she was celebrating her divorce from me. She looked at me and said, "We have to do something." I agreed, but there was no immediate solution. Later, when Liz left Sue and I started discussing what to do, she did not take up my suggestion to involve Liz's husband and his friends. After all, it was Liz's cheating that got her into this mess in the first place. Sue expected me to do something, but I'm not a Superman who can knock down all the people who disgust me. I've done that twice when my marriage was in serious trouble. But it's a different thing to fight for my honor with people who humiliate me by trying to screw my wife than it is to start a crusade against a man I've never met and who has done nothing wrong to me. Never mind that he's a real asshole. After talking most of the night, we devised a plan. Liz told us that Roland plays golf and is at the golf club almost every morning when it's less crowded than in the evenings. Sue and I took a few hours off work, called in, and even she took the morning off. Then we took 2 cars to the street where Roland lived and parked so we could watch the front door and not be seen. After about an hour, he came out with a golf bag and stood on the sidewalk for a few minutes until a Volvo V70 stopped and picked him up. Sue followed them in her car, and when they were outside the golf club, she called me and told me everything was okay. Liz stayed in my car watching the front door to the building. She knew the code to the front door, which she informed me, so I entered the building and went to the door of Roland's apartment on the second floor. The key was in order, so I put a Mickey Mouse mask on my face and rubber gloves on my hands and entered the apartment. I found a laptop computer, which I put in my bag, so I even had all the homemade stuff on CDs and DVDs. I found a camcorder on the shelf and took a tape out of it. I even looked for photo albums and found 2 big ones with pornographic pictures, and a few more pictures in a desk drawer. Then I found a calendar, which I took. My bag was already well stuffed, and I decided to leave the apartment. I went outside, took off my mask and rubber gloves. Neither on the way to the second floor, nor on the way down from the second floor did I meet anyone. I walked to my car, called Sue, and told her that everything was fine and it was over. It's unlikely that Roland bothered to contact the police, since it's well known that they don't care about petty theft. If he could produce a check for the laptop, he would get a small fraction of what a similarly powered one might be worth today. In most cases, the insurance company gets almost nothing. At home, we started researching the material and found an address on the calendar for one Eric Johnson, who lives in a town about 80 kilometers away. Sue had an old wig which we dyed black, and I, with the wig, a dirty face, and brown paint on a few teeth, went to visit Mr. Johnson. He was home and didn't give anything away when I, speaking in a horrible Eastern European accent, accused him of raping my whore and demanded the DVD he'd gotten from Roland. He immediately gave it to me, and when I told him that terrible things could happen to him if he tied up Roland, he promised to keep quiet as an oyster. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I called Roland and said in my Eastern European accent, "It's you, Roland. Are you at home or in the hospital?" "Home." Damn, Sergey. He corrected the mistake again. "You're next if you're minding our business. The blonde whore from the bakery is mine. Hands off her or Sergey will tell you why." "Understood." "Yes." Now, in the Scandinavian countries, prostitution is run by Eastern European gangs. Their internal problems are usually solved by very brutal methods, and few people dare to interfere in their affairs. I think Roland didn't sleep again that night, and we hoped we had scared him to death. We decided that Liz should stay off work for a week, and after that not say anything to Roland and call us right away if he tries ticks on the way to or from work. So far, Roland is behaving well and prefers to buy his bread at another store.